Death is the mother of beauty. Be assured that death is evil, for were it good, the gods would all die. Well, it is you, manling. I hear you are quite the little fireball. They say for us to capture you alive. I tend to get excited in a fight, so please remind me about the alive part if I seem to get too excited. Capture the manling alive. That's what Zivalai Moeth said. Capture all the manlings alive. So they talk, just like the three battle mages. They talked and talked about all sorts of things. Zivalai Moeth makes them talk. They were happy to talk, tell lots of secrets. Zivalai Moeth make you talk too, you bet. Tell all your secrets. So, now it's pounding time. Ready? We lift the veil and enter into night, eternal night, glorious with stars. you? And what are you doing here? Come closer, so I can talk to you. You want to talk to me? You show some respect. Or maybe I'll pound you. Okay, we talk a little. Then I have to pound on you and catch you alive. Can't forget the alive part. So, what do you want to talk about? Zivali Moath. He's my boss, and he's very important. Mehrunes Dagon likes my boss a lot because he's so smart and tough. He sent me here to guard this place and look for the man Ling. He wants the man Ling alive, he said. Okay, we talked. Now we wrestle.
And this is the thanks I get. Betrayed, tortured, sucked dry, murdered. Then, for good measure, they rip out my soul and set it adrift in this godforsaken hole! Those dog-sired Daedra, that's who. And that damn seducer. And that Siren Angata. If I get my soul suckers into that motherless backstabber, I'll make him a hot, empty husk. Well, I realize that it's risky dealing with Daedra, but that seducer... Well, let's just say it might not be eight heavens, but it's all right. And Angata promised he'd set me up like a wounded survivor, a hero. Siren Angata? No, perhaps not. A leechcrafter retainer of Jagerthorn, the Emperor's battle mage. He set it all up. I open the gate to the prince, he comes in, cleans out the Battlespire, and I just barely managed to escape with my life, bringing the tragic news to the Emperor and Tharn. I'm a big hero, a personal retainer of Jagerthorn, close to the Emperor and his family. In time, I get my own province, a great deal, and I delivered. But the scum cheated me. That's generous of you. But this Angata has a special transmorph spell, so he can look like anyone. Angata was posing as Womegan Mario, the Emperor's personal liaison to the Battlespire, when the Daedra took the place. But he, or she, could look like anyone by now. I appreciate your help, but you might want to run away now because I feel the hungry madness coming on again, and I'm not much fun to be around!
Judge no man, mortal, born to die, happy before his death. In death, all is peace and joy, serene, eternal.
smell blood! Life! Give me your blood! I must have it now! It's there inside you, and I want it out! Give it to me now!
I smell your life and rave with hunger. I can suck you to a husk and still scream for thirst. Run now. There is no hope, only horror. Your weapons amuse me. Against flesh they may triumph, but they scarcely stir the gossamer threads of the revenant spirit. and sacred trust. I swore to defend Battlespire for my Emperor, and now I'm dead. And all my charge dead too, and Battlespire in ruins, plundered by Daedra and ruled by the Prince of Destruction. I am Kiro Aman, Preceptor Superior of Battlespire. I was sucked dry of my power by Daedra, paralyzed, dominated, and carried to this place, where I told my captors all they wished to know. I could not prevent myself, so deeply had they my will enthralled. Even through death, I could not escape them, and now I am doomed to haunt these halls for all time. The madness comes on me, and I am a wraith, a fiend, a monster that feeds on the souls of others. I bless you, listen, and mark well, for the madness comes upon me, and I cannot command my own spirit. Lord Dagon, Mehrunes Dagon, and all his hosts fell upon us without warning. How they entered the citadel, I cannot know, for it should be impossible. There must have been a traitor. You must return to Tamriel and warn the Emperor! A wraith cannot be destroyed save by the power that created it. Yet I know another way. You may bind my spirit to an enchanted soul gem and pledge that soul gem to eternal vengeance. I know the ritual, but cannot perform the rites without a material form. The rite may only be performed on a willing discorporate spirit. The praxis is necromantic and evil, and condemns my soul to everlasting torment. But gladly will I endure such to avenge myself, my friends, and my Emperor. Will you learn this rite and swear a solemn oath to wield the spirit-doomed device in the war upon our enemies? Now, compose your spirit and speak the words. I, myself, will provide the praxis and the power for the rite. My ghostly form will disappear and you will find a magic gem. Take this gem, use it well, and when you strike against our foes, think of me. Repeat after me. Thy power spend, thy form in flames. Curse my foes and curse their names. Vest thy power and consecrate this weapon's art to damn their fate.
Beyond death, there is no fear, no shame. In death, the spirit arises pure and proud.
Your weapons amuse me. Against flesh they may triumph, but they scarcely stir the gossamer threads of the revenant spirit. What can your puny weapons, your feeble sorceries avail against an immortal spirit? I cannot die, you fool! I cannot die! I laugh at your pity. I mock your tiny fists. I want you, all of you, nothing left. I could pour you all into me and still feel hollow. How can you stand there? Don't you know what I am? A wraith, a husk, a mad, angry, hating husk. Your weapons amuse me. Against toys, child. Play your little parlor tricks. See how little tin and tinsel avails against the soul which never dies. Once I was a man filled with love and hate. Now I am a monster, empty and hungry. I surrendered my life, and now I must feast upon yours. Flee, mortal, for I have no heart, and would feed on yours. How could you ever understand my pain? You know nothing. You understand nothing. You are an animal, a weed, a stone. Compared to me, I see all, feel all, suffer all, hate all, forever. You know nothing. I want you, all of you, nothing left. I could pour you all into me, and what can your puny weapons, your feet? Cheated, betrayed, deceived. You promised, but you lied forever. What does it matter? It's not my fault. You said I'd live forever, and this is life. You cheated me. I hate you. Once I was a man filled with love and hate. Show me your little toys, child. I want you, all of you. Your weapons amuse. Once I was a man. Show me. Show me your little toys, child. Play your little parlor tricks. See how little tin and tin. What can your puny... I smell your life and rave with hunger. I can suck you to a husk and... Show me your...
Who disturbs our rest? You are not invited here. Why do you disturb our rest? Would you enter our service, mortal? Put off your mortal garments and stand naked in the spirit. Your stained tablet must first be washed white by the fires of mana. Seek the twin fingers of life in the chapel of love. Stand upon the pedestal and bathe yourself in the mana beams. The corruption of the flesh shall fall away and the spirit shall be revealed in its glory. Then may you stand before us and serve for eternity in peace and joy. Unless you join our service, we offer you no aid. Affairs of mortals are not our concern. Each mote of mana spent diminishes our eternity. Go and trouble me no more. But you speak with our brethren, who perhaps better recall wearing flesh, and who may look more generously upon your request. Who disturbs our rest? You are not invited here. Why do you disturb our rest? You stand within the precincts of the soul Cairn, an otherworldly refuge dedicated to peace, love, eternal rest, and harmony. You stand before one of its makers, whose name is so exalted you may not even speak it. You walk among its servants, who have pledged themselves in service to us, and who in reward have been gifted with life eternal and the peace that passes all mortal understanding. Would you enter our service, mortal? Unless you join our service, we offer you no aid. Affairs of mortals are not our concern. Each mote of mana spent diminishes our eternity. Go, and trouble me no more. But you speak with our brethren, who perhaps better recall wearing flesh, and who may look more generously upon your request. Who disturbs our rest? You are not invited here. Why do you disturb our rest? Would you enter our service, mortal? Unless you join our service,
I smell your life. Where is this land of joy and plenty you promised? No days, no nights, tired without rest, weary without hope, time without end, and this is the paradise you promised. Listen carefully. We take little harm from your weapons or spells. Seek the book of rest and endings. Speak the words and dissolve the bonds. Once I was a man. I want you. You have taken my life and given me nothing. Eternal happiness? Life everlasting? No. Eternal nightmare. Death everlasting. Nothing now. Nothing forevermore. I smell your life. Once I was a I want you.
Who disturbs our rest? You are not invited here. Why do you disturb our rest? Would you enter our service, mortal? Who disturbs our rest? You are not invited here. Why do you disturb our rest? Would you enter our service, mortal? Who disturbs our rest? Clearly, you have little or no comprehension of necromancy, and are therefore in no position to judge. You are clearly mortal, ignorant, and pitiable, so I will overlook your impertinence. Now, introduce yourself, or leave. Would you enter our service, mortal? You must die, and be born again. The form your spirit may take afterwards varies. You have seen the servants of our realm. Perhaps you can explain why we would wish to lavish our favors on one so churlish as to refuse us service. And how would this possibly interest me? Yes, I take your point. I would not wish to stand between you and your vengeance upon these Daedric marauders. Very well. Listen carefully. Look carefully at the pillars which support our halls. Around some of these pillars are 4 bars. If you look closely, you will see that most are square in cross-section. 3 of these are exceptional, round in cross-section. One is found in a coffin chapel. Another is found in the room with whirling discs. Yet another is found in the antechamber to the chapel of love. These 3 rods are the control rods for the mana font in the chapel of love. The chapel of love is close by to the southwest. Seek the twin fingers of life, which you must first kindle. Step into the pool before the emerald gates, and you will be transported to the top of the vault. Then take the 3 rods, the rod of the pilot, the rod of the pillar, and the rod of the passage, and place each, one by one, into the socket in the pedestal. Then the mana font will send you to any of the known outer realms, provided only that you know the name of that realm, and that you speak that name at the emerald gates of the vault that encloses the portal. You do know the name of the realm you seek, don't you? Who disturbs our rest? You are not invited here. Why do you disturb our rest? Would you enter our service, mortal? Put off your mortal garments and stand naked in the spirit. Seek the twin fingers of life in the chapel of love. Stand upon the pedestal and bathe yourself in the mana beams. Unless you join our service, we offer you no aid. Affairs of mortals are not our concern. Each mote of mana spent diminishes our eternity.
Your weapons are mute.
very happy to see you. I have a present for you. Okay, we talk a little. Then I have to pound on you and catch you alive. Can't forget the alive part. So, what do you want to talk about? Oh, when I capture you, I wait here a while, and someone opens a gate. I don't know how to open gates. So then we take the gate to Shade Perilous, then we take another gate to the Chimera, and then home to the Wellhead. Okay, we talk enough? Now we wrestle?
Cheated, betrayed,
Interloper, this realm is not for your brittle kind. For us, with but an infinitesimal measure of our vast power, have the Frost Daedra subjugated this land. You are not fit to utter the name of the Master of the Frostadra, mortal. This land holds rich mysteries and great rewards, but not for mortals. Now, I shall end your profane trespass. All hail Zivali Moath! The great Zivali Moath shall bring order and control to this dark land. Zivali alone deserves to rule here. Ha! Zivali alone will possess this rich, darkling land. He is the true heir to the great Mehrunes Dagon. Phaedra Sade is too consumed with fripperies and foolishness to do the hard work of conquest. Her fire Daedra are too frivolous to harvest the mana riches of this realm, just as they were too frivolous to help imprison the Nocturnal Lieutenant. Our accursed pact forbids us from fighting them directly, but we deserve the mana, and they deserve oblivion. Yes, that is a most orderly arrangement. We agree, and to seal the pact, we shall gift you with the Greaves of Ice Crystals. Its potent charm will protect your bones from the scorching heat of the fire Daedra. Understand that servitors of the great Zivali Moath must continue to attack you as long as you are within the shade Perilous. Flee vigorously from us and attack the fire Daedra. Bring all our enemies to heel. They serve our lord Mehrunes Dagon through the court of the Grand Vizier, Imago Storm. He controls the details of the invasion, that our lord Mehrunes Dagon may be free to think greater thoughts. What strange thoughts you mortals may entertain. All are loyal to our lord Mehrunes Dagon. Now go and root out the interloper fire Daedra. A party crasher. Wicked little party crasher. Did you think we would not notice your wicked intrusion into our new banquet hall? Your obsequious flattery has purchased you another moment of precious life. I shall torment your soul a moment longer before I send it into the darkness forever. This is our party. The shade Perilous is the sweetest delicacy in Nocturnal Realm, and it now belongs to the fire Daedra. Our master shall feast with us forever within its darkened splendor. Such notions are beyond your ken, naughty manling. You've been wicked, and you must be punished. You have interrupted my frolic. You thought you could come here to play? Now we will play with you. I shall sear your organs and shrivel your mortal soul with exquisite flame.
you think you're doing? You... Wait, are you... Curse the gods! It is the manling! mortal. Spare me. Do not look upon my misery. Never before has a Daedra pleaded with a mortal, but I beg of you to turn from the sight of my wretchedness. JCL. JCL. Her memory haunts me. She is gone to me. I cannot feel the traces of her in my mind. No fragment of her lingers. Oh, JCL, forgive me. It was my foolish pride that cost my mistress her realm. In my vanity I pleaded their case with her. The seducers are lordless warriors, and might shift allegiance at will. I thought they might remain loyal to JCL, once they knew her honest and honorable nature. But the seducers were in turn seduced. Dagon rules them now. Though to my everlasting shame I fear some seducers went to him willingly. These seducers Dagon has remade in the image of his own greed and treachery. Oh, all this horror is my fault, and I must atone for it. My mistress has hidden herself behind the night portal, and driven her spirit into the dream sleeve. When nocturnal mana flows, the night portal opens easily, as do the portals to other realms. But Dagon's troops have stoppered the flow of nocturnal magicka, sealing the night portal and all portals from Shade Perilous. The magicka tourbillon must turn again, but they will not budge until the wheels of heaven read the great code. I know not. It is in my mistress's book of the wheels of heaven. I know not how the codes work, but my mistress knows. I have heard her speak of the book, the stools, and the tourbillon that make all magicka flow. I'm sorry, but my mistress has not shared with me the mysteries of the arcane. Seek ye the book of the wheels of heaven, for it contains the sacred codes. Perhaps the riddle of the stools is also recorded there. The night portal is locked by 4 secret levers, and then, when the night portal opens, you will find my lady bound within the dream sleeve. This is an enchantment beyond my understanding, but she has told me the secret of its unraveling. Speak in the name of the nocturnals to shake the spell's bindings. Tourbillon, manling, and you will wake my mistress from the dream sleeve enchantment by speaking in the name of the nocturnals. Yes, and the 4 secret lovers are known to me only by word and not by deed. I recall my mistress saying, however, that one is near a podium, another underwater on a hidden grotto, the third beneath a table, and last in a storage room. I wish you good luck and good speed.
on Dagon's treacherous dogs. You'll get no mercy from me, maggot eater. Come closer, so you can hear my every curse upon you and all your spit-licking kin. Oh, yes, we've heard about you. Leave us alone and we will return the favor. Harm or hinder us at your peril.
Our Lord Phaedra Sharday is all-powerful. We exalt her name. Phaedra Sharday shall revel in the nocturnal ichor that flows with darkling mana. Only Phaedra Sharday understands the beauty of that deadly power, and only Phaedra Sharday deserves to keep it. But you are wrong. Zibalai Moath is too dull-witted to understand the power that is here. Phaedra Sharday, greatest child of Mehrunes Dagon, planned this attack, and only Phaedra Sharday shall drink of the rewards. Yeah, we can do nothing. Nothing! Phaedra and Zibalai have a pact that forbids us from melting them to vaporous mists. You are indeed wicked. We agree to this bond, and to bind our agreement, we give to you a helm of the fire opal that will warm your delicate flesh when the icy winds of Frostdaedra wrap you in their frigid embrace. Be not surprised that we continue to attack you while you are in the shade Perilous. We may not evade our orders, but if you shy away from our revels and seek the plodding Frostdaedra, we will not have to melt your mortal clay. Now we dance the dance of triumph and drive the Frostdaedra from our glorious party. Like the Frostdaedra, they do not understand the pleasures of the dance. They have no joy in the revel. They even stopped our wicked sport with the Lesser Nocturnal. When we did capture and bind the Nocturnal Lieutenant JCL Morgan, the Lesser Nocturnal Deianira Catrice also became our prisoner. Our master, Phaedra Sharday, sought to drain the Lesser Nocturnal of her darkling power for our pleasure. But the passionless Dremora stopped us. The Dremora are dry husks, and the fires of desire rage not in them. Their hearts are colder than the frigid Frostdaedra. Wicked mortal! You ask for more than you deserve. Yes, I see. Well, the Lesser Nocturnal is the farthest cell in the southern vault. We visit her to torment her with fire and frost. The portal only opens to the command, "The Gerent of Dagon rules here." The Greater Nocturnal is beyond the whirling spiral grinders, but she is beyond even my power to visit. Now run, wicked one. Run and splinter the Frostdaedra as you swore in your pact. We will cavort while you shatter the Frostdaedra into 1,000 icy shards.
You wish to stop our battle. We Dremora are not appeased by submission. We have no need of mortal captives. That is intriguing. What does a mere mortal have to say to a Dremora? You are clever for a mortal, and you have backbone. Perhaps we can make use of you. You must not be the one we seek. Such a one would never sully his pride by such base groveling. If you have something worthwhile to say it quickly. That is intriguing. What does a mere mortal have to say to a Dremora? You are clever for a mortal, and you have backbone. Perhaps we can make use of you. But of course, let us both use one another and see who gets the greater use of the other. To do that, one would travel beyond the gates of this land, through the Chimera of Desolation, through the Havoc Wellhead, and finally to Dagon's personal pleasure palace. Only JCL Morgan, the immortal nocturnal lieutenant, can send you through the great locks that separate this realm from the next. But she has somehow hidden herself within the shade Perilous. The great Daedra Lord, Mehrunes Dagon, was persuaded that this realm would be an essential way station toward the conquest of Battlespire, and sanctioned our passage, but he did not sanction the overthrow and occupation of this realm. Understand, Dagon's oathkin and protégés, Phaedra Charday and Zivali Moath, crushed this realm where they should have simply obtained passage by negotiation or with limited force. These spawn of Dagon became overzealous in carrying out Dagon's orders. The dark temptations of this nocturnal land proved far too appealing to them, and they overthrew the Shade Perilous while their oath father was occupied with weightier matters. Yes, Phaedra unleashed her Fire Daedra, and Zivalize unchained his Frost Daedra, granting them free rein to lay waste to this precious corner of the nocturnal realm. They relished the chance to revenge themselves on their ancient enemies, the Nocturnals. Quite true, but they have gone too far and must be chastened. Now that Battlespire is ours, we no longer need to hold this land, but many Daedra minions of Phaedra and Zivali decided that this land was now their domain, and remained here instead of continuing to the next step on the invasion route. They must be expunged and good order restored in order to redress the balance. The order to be restored is the order of the Nocturnals. As for the balance, well, that is more wisdom than you require. Invoke the names of their lords, and they will grow docile and circumspect. Exploit their divisions, and they will fall like barley before the scythe. One who would free your friend must gain the secret of passage from Shade Perilous to the Chimera of Desolation through the fugitive, the nocturnal lieutenant, JCL Morgan. But I have said too much. No one must know of our discussion. I will deny all knowledge of our colloquy. Now be off. Count yourself luckiest among all mortals that we have deemed you useful to our purpose. For had our goals not come into alignment, the last wisps of steam would now be rising from your lacerated lungs. That is not for you to know. All you need know is that I and my fellow Dremora serve the exalted and most puissant Lord, Gerant of Dagon, Mehrunes. If you have something worthwhile to say it quickly. That is intriguing. What does a mere mortal have to say to a Dremora? You are clever for a mortal, and you have backbone. Perhaps we can make use of you.